Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive,
Yeah.
where we're going to be looking at something
Okay.
pretty fascinating, I think. We're going to be looking at how giving thanks,
Right.
which we usually just associate with, Thanksgiving, is actually
Yeah.
this really powerful spiritual practice. And it's something that's woven all throughout the Christian faith.
Yeah.
So we've got some interesting sources for you today. We've got YouTube sermons, we've got in-depth Bible analyses.
Hmm.
We even have some personal reflections about how people celebrate Thanksgiving. And so we're going to try and figure out how to
Yeah.
kind of go from just like feeling grateful on just one day a year
Okay.
to actually having like a life that is totally transformed by
Yeah.
thankfulness.
Right. And what's so interesting is that, as you dig into these sources,
Okay.
Jesus didn't give all these like big lectures on gratitude.
Right.
It was almost like he was a silent influencer back then,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, that's so true.
demonstrating it through his actions.
Yeah. And that makes me think about that story where Jesus feeds those 4,000 people.
Right.
And what always gets me is he gave thanks before the miracle even happened. Like, was it already a done deal in his head?
Well, it really speaks to a level of faith that most of us can only dream of, doesn't it?
Right.
It wasn't like he was begging God to provide.
Yeah.
It was like he was acknowledging
Uh-huh.
that this power much bigger than himself was already working.
Right.
And what's really fascinating is that we see that pattern in other stories too,
Oh, really?
like the feeding of the 5,000.
Oh, yeah.
Even when it seemed impossible, Jesus always chose to express gratitude first.
Oh, okay.
So maybe the lesson here is that for us, cultivating gratitude before we even see those results
Right.
could be a way to invite that same power into our own lives.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know?
never thought of it like that. It was
Yeah.
almost like gratitude is this active form of faith.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle you can exercise even when you don't immediately see the results.
Uh.
And it kind of makes you think about all those verses about giving thanks in
Right.
every circumstance
Okay.
differently.
Big
It's
days.
not just about like pushing through hard times, but about actually shifting your perspective during them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Jesus modeling this radical gratitude,
Hmm.
but where else do we see this like deep-rooted idea of giving thanks?
Well, if we go back even further, the concept of Thanksgiving is woven right into the Old Testament.
Okay.
Like the Israelites, they had not one, not two, but three
Dharma.
annual festivals focused on gratitude.
3 whole festivals?
Three.
Wow. They were serious about giving thanks.
Yeah.
I can barely remember to send thank you notes after my birthday.
Well,
So what were those festivals all about?
each one had a unique focus.
Mhm.
There's a harvest festival, acknowledging God's provision, the abundance of the land.
Okay.
Another celebrated their freedom from slavery in Egypt,
Right.
a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness and deliverance. And the third focused on their dependence on God,
Okay.
acknowledging that everything they had
Yeah.
ultimately came from him.
That's pretty amazing. It seems like those festivals weren't just about celebrating the good times. They
Mhm.
were tied into their history, their identity, their relationship with God.
Uh,
When you think about it, it puts our Thanksgiving in a whole new light.
right.
It's not just about the food and the football.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into that same spirit of remembering, of dependence, of acknowledging something bigger than us.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got Jesus as like the ultimate gratitude influencer, ancient festivals.
Yeah.
Where do the Psalms fit into all of this? Weren't they pretty emotional?
Yeah, that's what makes the Psalms so powerful. They're raw and honest,
Mhm.
expressing the whole range of human emotions: joy, sorrow, anger, fear.
Right.
But what's really amazing is that even in the middle of pain and struggle,
Yeah.
the main theme is Thanksgiving.
So even when it felt like life was falling apart,
Yeah.
they still chose to acknowledge the good. That's a pretty powerful testament to how strong gratitude is.
It is.
It makes you wonder if there's a link between giving thanks and staying peaceful even when there's chaos all around.
Absolutely. And that's something we'll be exploring more
Okay.
as we keep going with this deep dive.
Okay, so we've seen that gratitude isn't just some modern idea.
Right.
It has deep roots.
It does.
But how does this ancient practice actually show up in how Christians today celebrate Thanksgiving?
Wow.
I mean, yeah, there's delicious food, but is there something more going on?
Yeah, there is. And one thing that really stood out to me from the sources was this idea that Thanksgiving can be like a bridge between faith and family.
A bridge. How so? Does that go beyond families just praying before a meal?
Yeah, it's more about like being intentional with the whole celebration.
Okay.
For Christian families, Thanksgiving is this unique chance to actually make their faith a part of their family traditions.
So it's more than just saying grace, it's about making faith like a natural part of the gathering. What are some ways families can do that, besides the obvious stuff?
Well, the sources had some really beautiful examples.
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine starting your Thanksgiving meal, not with just a basic bless this food prayer,
Right?
but with each person sharing something they're thankful for about their family
Okay.
or about how they've seen God working in their
I
lives.
love that. It's so much more personal than just a regular prayer.
Yeah,
It lets everyone think about what they're blessed with and where those blessings come from.
exactly.
What are some other ways to weave faith into family traditions?
Think about singing a hymn together,
Okay.
maybe one that's been passed down for generations, or
Yeah.
taking turns sharing stories about how God's been faithful to you.
Okay.
It's about making gratitude something real and shared.
These are such good ideas. I'm already making a mental note to try some of these with my family.
Yeah.
But what about kids? How do we help them understand Thanksgiving beyond just a day off from school?
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
Kids are surrounded by messages about consumerism. Oh, yeah. About what they don't have.
Right.
Thanksgiving can teach them about spiritual gratitude.
Okay.
We can help them focus on what they do have.
So how do we make that happen? Are we talking Bible verses at the dinner table?
It doesn't have to be that formal.
Okay.
You could share stories about how God's worked in your family's history.
Right.
Talk about why you do certain Thanksgiving traditions.
Okay.
Encourage them to help with things like donating food to a shelter.
Oh.
Make gratitude a lived-out experience.
Right. Not just telling them to be thankful, but showing them.
Exactly.
You know, we talked earlier about the pilgrims
Yeah.
and their Thanksgiving being about recognizing God's provision.
Right.
Is there a link between Thanksgiving and remembering our spiritual heritage?
Absolutely. The Pilgrims were super religious.
Right.
They risked everything to come to America.
Yeah.
Their Thanksgiving was about acknowledging God's protection during their journey.
That connection to the past is fascinating.
It is.
How can we in our modern world tap into that and feel that same dependence on something bigger than ourselves?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Maybe by realizing that we're on a journey too.
Okay.
Our lives are full of challenges and uncertainty.
Right.
Thanksgiving can remind us that we're not alone,
Yeah.
that God was faithful to those who came before us,
Right.
and he's still faithful today.
It's like drawing strength from those who went through so much.
Uh-huh.
It reminds us that even when things are uncertain, there's always hope.
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked about Thanksgiving as a bridge between faith and family.
Right.
And a way to connect with our spiritual heritage.
Yeah.
But one thing that keeps coming up in the sources is Thanksgiving as a spiritual discipline.
Right.
What does that even mean? Does that mean forcing ourselves to be thankful when we don't feel like it?
Not at all. It's not about faking your emotions.
Okay.
It's like any other spiritual practice.
Right.
We discipline ourselves to pray, to read the Bible, to serve others.
Uh-huh.
We can do the same with gratitude.
So it's about making an effort to focus on what's good, even when life gets tough.
Yeah.
I see how that can really help you grow spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any specific things we can do besides praying to develop that discipline of gratitude?
Well, we talked about gratitude journaling, but another practice I really liked was the idea of a gratitude altar.
Wait, a gratitude altar, what is that?
It's just a special spot in your home where you put things you're thankful for,
Okay.
a shelf, a table, a corner, anything to remind you to focus on the good.
Oh, I like that. It's like a physical reminder of all the good things in your life.
Yeah, pictures of loved ones, special gifts, quotes, anything that brings you joy.
That could be a great way to change your perspective when you're feeling down.
Right.
Are there any other practices you found interesting?
One that stood out was including gratitude in your everyday prayers.
Okay.
Instead of just asking God for things, thank him for what you already have.
That's true. It's easy to get caught up in what we don't have and
Yeah.
forget all the good that's already there.
Exactly.
Do you think making an effort to thank God for those things, even the small ones, can really make a difference?
The sources seem to think so.
Okay.
It's about having a thankful heart, not just going through the motions.
Right.
When we do that, we become more aware of God's presence and how he provides for us.
It's like we start noticing those blessings we might have missed before.
Right.
It reminds me of that verse, "Be still and know that I am God."
Yeah,
It's like gratitude helps us be still so we can connect with God.
that's beautiful. And that connection can bring peace and joy.
Yeah.
It also gives us strength when we face hard things.
Right.
So instead of feeling defeated, we see those as chances to grow and trust God.
So it's not about ignoring hard times, but seeing them through a lens of gratitude. It
Exactly.
gives us a new perspective, one that helps us find hope.
Right.
I'm curious, does gratitude also change how we treat others?
Absolutely. It's not just an internal thing.
Okay.
The sources say gratitude can make us more generous.
That makes sense. When we're thankful for what we have, we're more likely to share.
Right. Gratitude opens our hearts to the needs around us
Yeah.
and makes us want to give back.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is. The more we practice gratitude, the more we benefit
Yeah.
and the more we bless others.
It's like this chain reaction of good stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, so gratitude can transform us inside and out,
Right.
but how do we move from just enjoying Thanksgiving dinner to actually living a life full of gratitude?
I think it starts with choosing to make gratitude a spiritual discipline.
Okay.
We've talked about some great tools and practices, but ultimately it comes down to changing our perspective,
Okay.
to retraining our minds to look for the good, even when things are hard.
So it's not just something that happens automatically.
Right.
It takes effort, being intentional.
Exactly. It's a choice to embrace gratitude, to see how powerful it can be.
Right.
It's not a magic spell, but it does bring incredible rewards.
You know, in this deep dive, we've explored gratitude as a spiritual practice, as a way to connect with our faith and families, and even as a tool for personal change.
Right.
But one thing we keep coming back to is this idea of gratitude as a force,
Right.
a power that's more than just a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to understand that better.
Okay.
What do the sources say about that?
Well, when we really start digging into this idea of gratitude as a force,
Okay.
one thing becomes super clear.
Okay.
It's not about just sitting back and waiting for good things to happen.
Right.
It's about getting involved with this power that's bigger than us.
So it's not like gratitude is some magic trick to make miracles happen.
Right.
It's more about aligning ourselves with like a higher power.
Exactly. And the sources we looked at has some pretty amazing things to say about how to do that.
Oh, yeah.
One of those YouTube sermons used this phrase that really stuck with me. Thanksgiving is a declaration of faith.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's not just about like quietly feeling thankful. It's about actually saying out loud that you trust God, even when things are tough.
Yeah.
It's like turning gratitude into this active choice.
Yes. And saying your gratitude out loud, that can actually change the spiritual atmosphere around you.
Oh, wow.
It's like sending out a signal to God,
Okay.
inviting his power into the situation.
So it's not just about changing your own mindset. It's
Right.
about actually impacting the spiritual world around you.
Exactly.
That's a pretty powerful thought.
It is.
Are there any Bible stories that show this idea of Thanksgiving as like a declaration of faith?
There's one that pops into my head right away.
Okay.
You remember that story about Jehoshaphat when he's about to face that huge army?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Instead of freaking out, he sends out musicians to praise God before the battle even starts.
Yeah, that was pretty bold.
It was.
I can't imagine seeing this scary army and deciding that the best thing to do is have a concert.
Well, as those musicians went out there singing their hearts out to God, something amazing
What
happened.
happened?
The enemy army turned on itself
Oh.
and totally destroyed themselves.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
They didn't even have to fight.
Yep.
Just by expressing their gratitude and faith, they changed everything.
Exactly. That story shows us something really deep.
Okay.
When we focus on God, when we show our gratitude and trust in Him,
Yeah.
especially when we're scared,
Mm-hmm.
we create a space where impossible things can happen.
Okay, that is mind-blowing.
It is.
But how do we know it's really working? Can we measure how much impact our gratitude has?
That's a great question. I think the answer is simple, but deep. Look for the fruit.
The fruit, like apples and oranges?
Not exactly.
Yeah, haha.
Though fruit salad is always good.
Right.
I'm talking about the actual evidence of God working in your life.
Oh, okay.
Look for the ways He's answering your prayers,
Yeah.
providing for you, guiding you,
Okay.
even in the little things.
So we're not always looking for huge, dramatic events.
Not necessarily.
It's more about noticing those everyday moments that show God is with us.
Right. It might be a feeling of peace when you're stressed, a sudden solution to a problem,
Right.
a random act of kindness,
Yeah.
or even money showing up just when you need it.
So we're learning to see God's hand in the small details,
Yeah,
even the ones we might usually overlook.
exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
You know, you said earlier that gratitude is like a key that unlocks blessings.
Right.
What else could this key unlock? What other doors can gratitude open in our lives?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. Gratitude has this amazing ability to open up our hearts.
Okay.
It breaks down those walls we sometimes build,
Yeah.
walls of bitterness, resentment, unforgiveness.
Right.
When those walls come down,
Yeah.
love can flow in and out.
So gratitude isn't just about getting blessings.
Right.
It's about becoming a way for blessings to reach others.
Yes.
Yes.
When we're truly grateful,
Yeah.
we're more likely to be kind and compassionate.
Right. We judge less, criticize less, hold fewer grudges.
Yeah.
We see the good in others even when they mess up.
Wow. So gratitude doesn't just change our own lives.
Right.
It changes our relationships and our communities too.
It does. It's like a ripple effect of good stuff.
It really is.
And that's why the sources say that gratitude isn't just a nice thought. It's a radical act of faith.
Okay.
It's choosing to align ourselves with a power so much bigger than us.
Right.
A power that can heal, restore, and redeem.
That's powerful.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
I think the most important message is this. Gratitude is a superpower that everyone has.
Right.
It's not something you have to earn.
Yeah.
It's a gift you can choose to accept and grow.
And the more we practice gratitude, the more we see how powerful it can be in our lives and in the world.
Exactly. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
It really is.
So this Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and every day after, let's choose to embrace the power of gratitude. Okay.
Let's make it a statement of our faith,
Right.
a force that changes our reality,
Yeah.
and a key that unlocks all the blessings God has for us.
That's a beautiful challenge for us to remember.
It is.
Thanks for being here with us on this deep dive into how gratitude, Thanksgiving, and the Christian faith are all connected.
It's been great exploring these ideas with you.
It has.
And until next time,
Yeah.
may your hearts overflow with gratitude.
That's great. Thanks, everyone, for listening.